Good morning, I'm Mikey Oreta, and welcome to Industry Beacon, where we shine a light on the trailblazers, the disruptors, the titans of industry shaping our future. And we're not just talking about success stories here, we're diving deep into their hearts and minds to see what drives them. On this episode, we'll take a closer look at the economic ties between the Philippines and the United Kingdom. For decades, the British Chamber of Commerce has been helping Philippine businesses in the UK advance their interests here in Manila. Now, what's next in terms of trade collaboration and more between these two nations? Let's find out from the Chamber's trustee and executive director himself, Chris Nelson. He joins us from Spain. Hi, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning to you too, and good morning to all your viewers.
Okay, Chris, so the Chamber is recognized as the voice for British businesses in the Philippines. Can you tell us more about what you do to expand the economic relations between these two nations?
Sure, so we've been very active. We have over 300 members. We have very close ties with the Philippine Embassy in the UK, with the Department of Trade and Industry. We also work closely with the Philippine British Business Council. The chairman in the UK is Joe Miro. The chairman here in the Philippines has now just been appointed. That's Laurie Lee Osell of Shell. And we also have direct contacts with other British chambers of commerce in the UK. And with that, we try to create a significant interest in the investment and trading opportunities in the Philippines. And I'm pleased to say that we've been successful in that area. And I can see obviously the pictures running. One of the most recent being is the actual export of British pork to the UK, to the Philippines, which is up by 16% for the first 5 months of this year.
Chris, you've been in the Philippines for 20 years. You've been at the helm of this chamber for half of that, for 10 years. Is it difficult to get businesses from the UK interested in investing in the Philippines?
Yes, it's not an easy, it is a challenge, and I think the challenges will vary. A lot of the companies we deal with are small to medium-sized enterprises. And one of their key issues will always be, what are the regulations? How is the ease of doing business? That has been a constant question when we used to go to the UK and do trade missions. That's why, if I could say, we are an ARTA champion. That's the Anti-Red Tape Authority. We work with Attorney Perez, and that's a very key initiative. So the challenges to companies are, can I set up business there? We often say to companies, if you come to do business in the Philippines, this is a gateway to Southeast Asia. And obviously with the ratification of the RCEP agreement and other trade agreements, that's very important. So it's ease of doing business, it's finding reliable partners, and we work obviously with companies to do that. That's why networking with the Chamber is very important. But challenges will remain. But again, let's look at the opportunities. The Philippines now has a GDP growth rate of the last quarter of 6.3%, which is clearly very strong, has a talented workforce, and has a large developing base, particularly for food and beverage and other products.
Okay, that's right. Can you talk to us about the metrics by which UK companies use to gauge the level of competitiveness of the Philippines in terms of, relative to the competition within the rest of Southeast Asia?
Well, of course, it will depend also on the industries they're looking at. As you know, as we're aware, in the Philippines, there are restrictions on certain investments. That's contained within the Constitution. However, I would also say there has been significant developments, both at the end of the Duterte administration and obviously continuing on under the current administration under President Marcos. So in that respect, for example, we saw the passage of the Retail Trade Act, the Foreign Investment Act, the Public Service Act, and continuing that on, we're seeing further ways of obviously boosting investor outlook and confidence. We're very keen on some of the key legislations. We're very pleased to see that the Anti-Financial Account Scamming Act was passed. We're very hopeful that very soon they will sign into law the Anti-Agricultural Economic Sabotage Act, because we work very closely in the agricultural sector, and this will be a help to both the genuine exporters that we deal with and the local market, which we should see boosted as well. So I think legislation is important, and it's important. And what we have to stress is that the Philippines is competing with other markets in Southeast Asia, and therefore we've got to keep on driving that liberalization, communicating it well, and obviously highlighting those opportunities, particularly with a market and the workforce, let's say, which is talented and obviously a developing market in terms of consumer demand.
There's a lot of consumer demand with our huge population. Speaking of that and the workforce, we've got a young, strong, and workers aplenty. But what more can we do to beef up the skill sets of the population in order to make the Philippines a more attractive investment destination, especially for businesses in the UK that want to come here?
So if you look at, and I think it's been highlighted in the recent Sonar speech of President Marcos, obviously he's highlighted the need to keep upgrading the skills. One area that he actually highlighted was actually cybersecurity training and cybersecurity awareness in terms of schools and colleges. We see cybersecurity, and the UK has a great depth of skill and experience in that area. And I think that's one of the key things going forward. We had an event with one of our members, that's Cyber Q. At the same time, the British Embassy, who we work with closely, Ambassador Beaufils, and also the UK's Trade Commissioner, whose name is Martin Kent, based in Singapore. They had an event highlighting cybersecurity in February of this year. So I think cybersecurity is one of the key ones. And I think the key is to keep opening up that market and developing skills in those areas. And we're seeing that working forward. And I think the Chamber, the Embassy, is very keen to work with the government and to improve cybersecurity skills. And as I said, we have members such as CyberQ who are very prominent in that area.
Okay, you mentioned cybersecurity, the UK being very big on that. Here in the Philippines, what are the things that we can do to fill gaps? What are the gaps that need to be addressed in the UK that the Philippines here can fill?
So I think what the UK is looking for is, obviously you've got a talented workforce. The UK is obviously looking, and as you've seen, has developed close ties with the Philippines. That's one. In terms of overall trade, I think the trade area now is up to a record high of about 2.7 billion. That's the combined trade. And that's a reflection of the fact that the Philippines is very receptive to obviously UK products and well-known goods and services, and obviously developing ties with small to medium size. At the same time, I think there's opportunities for Philippine goods, particularly agricultural products and so forth in the UK. The question is to continue to develop those ties to make both sides, whether it's UK companies or their Philippine counterparts, aware of those trading opportunities. I would also say that the UK, as you're aware, left the EU. That was at the end of 2020, I beg your pardon. And since then, we've had a new trading standard, which is also a help in terms of expanding it, making it easier for UK companies. So again, this is work being done by the Department of Business and Trade in the UK, and we work and support that through the embassy here, through the Ambassador Beaufils, through the current regional director, which is Dr. James Thackeray.
Now, you've been with this chamber for 10 years now, Chris. How have you seen the relationship, the economic relationship between the Philippines and the UK? How has it changed since when you first started in this post and to present day?
Well, it's gone stronger, and I think that's a reflection not just of the chamber, of course, but it's, of course, a reflection of the embassy. It's a reflection of the work done by the ambassadors, by our business section, and also a reflection of the Philippines. I think I've got to give credit to secretaries of trade and industry. We had very close ties with them, both under the Duterte administration and, of course, recently going forward. And let's look at also President Marcos. President Marcos, in himself, has strong ties with the UK. He went to Oxford, and I think that's a reflection. He's visited the UK, And that all reinforces the opportunities. And I think the more, and let's not forget, in the UK, there is a large Philippine population. Yes, many of them now are British citizens. Total estimated is over 200,000. And there's significant travel now between the two countries, and that reinforces ties. So I've seen it grow. We can always do more, but it's great to see the fact that we're continuing to grow. And the level between the two countries, this is now the 77th year, I believe, of diplomatic relations between the two countries. And I'd just like to flag that on the 19th and 20th of October of this year, we'll have again our Great British Festival on the day of UK-Philippines Friendship Day, which is the 20th of October.
Okay, all right, yeah, strong ties, and the Philippines has always had a strong affinity to the West, which is very beneficial for businesses. Now, the Philippines is home to many large UK firms. We've got Shell, we've got HSBC, we've got Unilever, we've got GlaxoSmithKline. What are the unique opportunities and challenges that these bigger businesses face in the Philippines, and what are the challenges unique to the smaller businesses?
So, look, we're very pleased, obviously, that we have key recognized multinationals that you've named, and we work closely, and they've also been, on many times, been on our board, HSBC, Shell, AstraZeneca, GlaxoSmithKline. I think their challenges vary. A lot of these large companies obviously have their own departments, they have their own skill sets, but they also look to the chamber to assist them, whether it's on legislation or being briefed on key issues within their sector. And we very much welcome working with them and also helping them to, where we can, to promote their businesses. HSBC has just started very recently an improvement on digital payments and was keen to involve us and be briefed by them. I think the larger multinationals, the large companies you've named, they will come to us and we'll work with them on very specific issues. Our other base, and as I said, we have over 300 members, is comprised of much smaller corporates, SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises. Their challenges are different. What they rely on for the chamber is organizing events, trying to actually help them in terms of skill sets. So it's a very multifaceted challenge. So when you work in the chamber, you work across a great range of what the needs are of very large corporates as opposed then to very small enterprises.
All right, okay, thank you, Chris. We're going to take a quick break. Industry Beacon will be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Industry Beacon here on BNC, where we continue our discussion with Chris Nelson, the Executive Director of the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Mikey.
Chris, as the head of this chamber, what's your long-term vision for the economic relationship between the Philippines and the UK?
So we want to see ourselves continuing to grow. We'd like to obviously our membership to over 300. We want to see that continue to grow. We'd like the UK to be one of the largest business partners of the Philippines. Currently, I think we sit about 59th in terms of total trading relations. And working alongside organizations, and obviously the British Embassy, led by Ambassador Bofis, along with the Philippine Embassy, led by Ambassador Locsin, and all the other ties, we want to see that continue to grow. We've reached a combined trade and business of about 2.7 billion on a full quarter basis, and we want to see that continue to grow. We want the Philippines and UK, as I said, to be one of the highest and to be recognized, and I think there's great opportunities to get there.
Mm-hmm. From 59th, what is realistic in terms of placing? How can we improve on this standing?
Well, I think it's realistic that we continue to go up. I mean, it would not be realistic for us to get into the top 10, but I think it is significant that we can move that forward, higher places up to, I would think, hopefully, up into the sort of beginning of the 40th positions or that sort of area. And I think there are areas of opportunities, as I highlighted in the earlier part of the program, we've done particularly well and continue to do with the growth of UK pork exports to the Philippines. That's driven by a mutual interest. There's a need here for food supply and food security, the fight against inflation. And the UK is known to be a quality supplier of pork and other products such as beef. And I'm pleased to say also that now chicken is also going to be available in terms of there's no restriction between the two. So I think those areas will grow along with food and beverage, along with other areas. And let's not forget, the UK has a great interest and skill set in infrastructure. So renewable energy, which is a key focus for the Philippines, will also see opportunities for UK companies.
Okay, really quickly before we let you go, Chris, if you could think of a slogan to get businesses in the UK, to get them attracted to invest in the Philippines, what would that slogan be?
Oh, that's a hard one to ask at this time of the morning. But I say, it's more fun in the Philippines and more opportunities.
All right, on that note, Chris Nelson of the BCCP, thank you very much.
Thank you, Maggie. And also, I'd like to say congratulations and thank you very much for the kind invitation. And wish you all the best for your program. And we will keep on promoting and helping the Philippines and the UK to do business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. All right, and that's it for today's show. I'm Mikey Oreta. Catch the Bilyonario News Channel on Free TV Channel 31 and on cable via Cignal Channel 24. Thanks for watching the Bilyonario News Channel, always on top.